Today I'm going to be doing a genre analysis on the film Burlesque. Just a quick overview of the film. It was directed by Stephen Antan. It was released November 24th, 2010. The genre is a musical slash romance with the subgenre being a drama. So just a quick overview of musical and romance genres. Musical genres are films that use song and dance numbers to propel the plot of the film. So characters' songs are woven into the narrative to make it crucial to understanding the film. It often replaces dialogue. So in Burlesque, we see a lot of Christina Aguilera's character Ali singing and dancing, and that's really part of her narrative, and her actions are all kind of told through her singing and dancing numbers. And the romance genre puts a focus on the relationship between two characters and have it be a part of the story. A lot of the motives and actions of the characters are driven by relationship factors. So again, in Burlesque, we see a lot of Christina Aguilera's characters' actions and motives are driven by her attraction to Jack and her relationship with Marcus. The same thing with Tess, Cher's character. Her actions are driven by her relationship to her ex-husband Vincent, and Marcus's actions are driven by his relationship with Ali. So we see a lot of romance happening within the film as well. So the conventions of these two are auditions, elaborate costumes. So for auditions, we see Christina Aguilera's character Ali once again has to audition to be part of the burlesque show. Once she does get in, it's a lot of elaborate costumes, a lot of wigs. It all kind of tells the story of what burlesque is, very over the top. And there is a conflict of heart. We see that in multiple characters. Jack, the character, is conflicted between Ali and his fiance, who's currently in New York. Ali's conflicted between Marcus and the burlesque show. Cher's character Tess is conflicted between keeping the burlesque lounge and letting it go. So again, conflict of a heart is really more of an element of the musical genre, but also a big element of the romance genre. Imagination scenes and talent intimidation. A lot of the time in musicals, there's one character that kind of shines above the rest, and especially in burlesque, we kind of see Ali character play and fit into that role, and the other people part of the burlesque show are intimidated by her talent, especially the character Nally, who kind of goes out of her way to kind of like seek revenge on on Ali. So part of that romance again is love interest and love triangles. We see the love triangle between Ali, Jack, and Jack's fiance, between Ali, Jack, and Marcus, and then the love interest between Ali, Jack, Marcus, Ali, Jack, and his fiance. The romance really does play a big part of it, especially towards the end of the film, where we see Ali and Jack kind of have this conflict because they don't know whether they love each other or whether Jack wants to stay with his fiance. It becomes a very big thing. So they kind of put an emphasis on those conventions, on the costumes of Ali's character in particular. So in the beginning, when we see Ali, she's just moving to California. She's wearing very modest clothing that kind of represents where she's coming from, the country state. And as the film progresses, as she gets into the burlesque show, we kind of see her in a more risque costume. Still Ali, though, we still have her natural hair down, kind of full glam still. But towards the end of the film, we kind of see this 316 Ali's character from when she first appeared in the scenes. We see her in a more risque costume. She's kind of always sporting now this like short blonde bob wig or this curly updo, and that kind of symbolizes her transition as a character as well, from this country girl moving now into the city life and kind of coming into her own power as a singer, an artist, a performer, and finding her own stepping and footing into the burlesque show. So continuing, the emphasis of kind of musicals does put onto setting. Setting is very important, especially in this romance film as well. The setting all takes place at the Burlesque Lounge, which is in LA, California, but more importantly located on Sunset Boulevard. And the Burlesque Lounge is a prime location, says multiple times throughout the film, has a great view, but Cher's character Tess cannot afford to pay the mortgage on it. The loans are running up. The bank is going to repossess the lounge if she can't come up with the money. And the setting is really a big part of the plot. From the very first scene, we see that the Burlesque Lounge could face closing down, and Ali's love interest Marcus wants to buy the Burlesque Lounge, but only to tear it down and build a skyscraper above it, not respecting the lounge, not respecting Ali. So the setting just plays a big part into that musical number where all that singing, all that dancing and magic is happening. But they get into that romance because it plays a part where Jack and Ali first meet there. Their connection started there. It's where they continue to interact. So again, a big part of the musical aspect with the emphasis on the casting Cher and Christina Aguilera. Cher and Christina Aguilera were both very big stars at the time in their own respective state. Cher was a household name. She was known as the goddess of pop, had already gone on to star in multiple TV shows, multiple movies, released multiple albums. She was known as a pioneer in her craft, a very, very big star. Christina Aguilera was an it girl of the early 2000s. Her music was popping off. Every teenage girl knew who she was. Every teenager knew who she was. She was very known for her singing ability and her giant range of notes. So casting these two was sure to drive the audiences in, but they kind of were able to fade into retrospective parts. Christina Aguilera plays this character of Ally who's coming onto the scene, who's new in it, in the burlesque show. And that kind of what Christina Aguilera was in real life, mirroring that same thing with Cher's character Tess, who was a veteran in the burlesque show. It was her lounge. She had kind of done it all before. She's kind of has that mother dynamic with Christina Aguilera. And we kind of see that relationship mirrored in the film. So in this scene, we see Christina Aguilera's character begin to belt notes. And the character Natalie kind of pulls back the backing. At this part in the film, no actual singing was done. A lot of the burlesque girls were just lip singing to the songs. So when the music is pulled, instead of just closing the show, Ally decided to start belting these notes, and that's kind of a big turning point for her character. So analyzing that sound is very important. So we see Ally belting is kind of Ally coming into her own stage presence. She's taking control of her own narrative at this point. She's not going to let her first time on the stage be a total flop. She's going to take control. And then towards the right, when we see that picture, it's her. And now the people, her friends, her fellow burlesque people are kind of backing her, singing backing tracks. And that kind of represents the first time where people are coming around to the idea of Ally. People want to be her friend. People are welcoming her in as part of that community. So again, that sound kind of plays a big part in the evolution of the plot and the evolution of Ally's characters and her transformation and her arc overall. So that was my genre analysis of the film Burlesque.